Hello, everyone. Welcome back to season 9 of Vulnerability Time. It's so great to be here for another season. Folks, remember to share the podcast, subscribe, follow the podcast. You never know whose life you're going to heal or change by just simply sharing the podcast. We're all in this together. We're all worthy and deserving of healing and deserving of love. So love someone today, including yourself, even if it's hard, even if you don't feel like it. Also, if you want some more healing, go and check out my books on Amazon. One's an interactive journal notebook, and you can interact with it. It's very self-awareness and to learn yourself and others if you want to learn more about yourself. The other one's a really neat poetry book that I wrote some years back. So all that can be found in the episode description below. And with that being said, this is another episode of Vulnerability Time. I am your host and published author, Josias Abriel.
Good.
Okay, folks, we love a pre-recorded intro. Fun fact, folks. So we recorded 1 to 2 minutes yesterday. It was just the introduction, right? But I
Yeah.
had to hang up almost immediately and end the call and reschedule. Why? Because I was not feeling well. There was something I had ate, and I was on the verge of puking on the call. So I was like, yeah, we're rescheduling. So we're gonna, in the sake of vulnerability time, I gotta let y'all know that we're gonna do this intro again, but this intro was already done. It was just like the first 1 to 2 minutes. So, but we have a new guest to the show. This is someone that I've been wanting on the show for like 2 seasons now. Um, Finally reached out and asked before I close out this season. I was like, let me ask Alex to be on the show. So welcome again, um, to the Vulnerability Time podcast, Alex.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Really excited to be here.
Yes, he said that yesterday. I'm just kidding. I don't remember what he said. Um,
Yeah, I have a script actually now.
oh, nice. Okay, so Alex, before we get into our topics, I want you to, let the people know a little bit about you. Also want you to include that you're a content creator and, you have a YouTube, anything that you want to share with us to let us know a little bit let us get to know you a little bit, Alex. Take it away.
Okay, yeah, so, like I mentioned yesterday, I try to be as not too repetitive, but just to give a little bit of a background and a little bit of where I come from to the people who might not know. I was born in Mexico and came to the U.S. at a very, very early age in Southeast Texas. So I was raised there by a very traditional religious family. I was there basically my whole life until I graduated university as a mechanical engineer. And straight out of university in peak COVID, uh, it was spring 2020
We went to the
when I
same
graduated.
university together, by the way, folks. Fun fact.
Right, right. And that's actually where we met, where we know each other from. But so after graduating, I got my job offer here in Dallas, Texas, which I currently where I currently am right now. And I worked as a physical design engineer for about 5 years. And about 5 months ago, I was laid off from the company after a big cutoff. And actually, my whole team was removed. So it was a company decision. It was, just got laid off. Things that happen in life. And from there, currently, um, trying to pursue and focus more on the content creating side of aspect of things. This was something that I had been doing for some time now. I had been streaming for about 3 years now. Actually, I think this month was 3 years of streaming. So I've now been taking it obviously more seriously with the layoff and trying to actually tap into the editing, the streaming, the content creating, YouTube, TikTok, all of the streaming services and trying to really reach out to more people and make this work out pop off for the better.
Yes. And so what do you stream? What does that content look like? Because I know you're on Twitch. And any links that Alex shares with me, folks, will be in the episode description below. So you can go check them out and things like that. But yes, what is it? What is the content that you stream? Let us know.
Yeah, so whenever I first got into streaming was watching it, and it was mostly Twitch,
Mm,
and it was in university whenever I first got into it when I was in college, and most of the time I would just watch people play video games. I think that's where the streaming community originated mostly in. And a lot of things now, the bigger content creators now are doing a lot of different things more IRL, and maybe just some just talking pot episodes and streams. But what I focus on is a lot of gaming, since is what I started on. And then I've been trying to include more things in it, trying to be a little bit more helpful to the community that I'm trying to build. So for that reason, I've included streams on Thursdays, which is today. Today we have that scheduled for later tonight. Just talking Thursdays, or therapy Thursdays is another word for it,
nice.
but I'm not a therapist, so I don't want to really label it
Mm,
that way.
right,
I'm
right.
just trying to be, I guess, in a way, therapeutic, not as a therapist, but as a friend who's going to be listening to you and trying to give you good feedback on whatever questions you have about life and just
Mm,
in general. It could also be about streaming, it could be about whatever you want. That's why I have the Thursday stream and that labeled that way, to just talk, is literally to talk with the community, answer your questions, and get to know a little bit more about me and get to know a little bit more about anyone who's watching as well. And that comes from more recently, as I've gotten older, seeing society, seeing the government, seeing people around me, seeing relationships, and wanting to help the people who are suffering through all of that. How I've suffered as well, and continue to potentially suffer through that as well. It's a part of life.
yeah. Yes, thank you for sharing that. So the Thursday streaming, the talking with you Thursday streaming, is that just on, correct me if I'm, maybe you said it. Is it just on Twitch or is that like on YouTube too?
So it's those all I've been doing recently
Mm,
has been live on Twitch,
okay.
YouTube, Kick, and TikTok actually. Um about a month ago, a little bit over a month ago, I had a my TikTok live permission revoked, or I had a warning on it for like a month. And I don't know why. I believe some of the community guidelines that they have are a little bit more strict on what words you can say or what content you can talk about.
Mm,
So it's a little bit more stricter. So if at any point the Talking Thursday gets into something that might be not necessarily controversial, but it's just against their community guidelines, then I might cut some of those streams down. But most of the time, I'm always live on all of those four platforms, and a lot of them have a lot of different type of content. But I've started to realize that it's okay to recycle content a little bit. So I've been trying to post a lot of the same stuff in my social medias. So a lot of the stuff that is on YouTube might also be on TikTok or on my Instagram, and some of the stuff on Twitch is mostly on everywhere because I
mm,
share that with all of the social services that are provided. But the only one that I haven't really looked into a lot in terms of live streaming has been YouTube and Kick. So even though I go live there, some of the settings that work behind that software is a little bit more confusing from what I use.
mhm.
So I'm still trying to up my skills in that and get better at it.
Okay, cool, cool, great. Alex, ask me because I'm working on my Spanish. For those of y'all
Okay.
that don't know, I am half Hispanic, so I've been working on my Spanish. Alex, ask me how I'm doing in Spanish.
Mm,
Yep.
¿Cómo estás?
Chingón. ¿Y tú? I'm working on it. I've been working.
Yo bien.
I've been working on it. I've been. Oh, y'all, I ate that. I ate that.
Spanish? That's a little bit
Chingón.
that's more Mexican than Spanish.
Yes, yes, exactly.
If
And
you
I
can just
ended up
if you can
saying that,
actually
huh?
yeah, if you could quote unquote say that you're speaking Mexican. It's not a language, but
Right, right.
that's definitely Mexican lingo.
That's where I learned it from too, because
Yeah.
I actually said it in a professional setting, not knowing what it meant. And the person that taught me it didn't tell me that.
Mm.
They didn't tell me that. They just was like, if someone asks how you're doing, if they say "Cómo estás" or "Qué pasó," say "Chingón," and I was like, "Chingón." I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna butcher it,
Yeah.
but I'm gonna say it. Yes, and then
It's
eventually I learned that it, to not say that in a professional setting.
yeah, it's not a bad word, but it's definitely more of a casual setting type word.
Hmm. Well, thankfully
Yeah.
we're on the Vulnerability Time podcast, so we can say whatever we want.
Perfect.
Yes. Okay. Well, folks, if you want to check out Alex's streams and all that good stuff, it links are in the episode description below. And before we get into our topics, I do want to give a special thank you and shout out to our two newest countries that the podcast is heard in, Bangladesh and Lithuania. Hello, hello, Bangladesh. Hello, Lithuania. Um, I'm honored. We are honored. Thank you for listening and continue to share this whole vulnerability time project is just about healing and love and understanding and saving lives and just the uplifting of and the honesty of humanity. So continue to share this podcast. Um, it's for our neighbor. It's for us. It's for you. It's for me. It's for the person that we'll never ever meet in this lifetime that will hear it because you shared to someone and then they shared it to someone. It's kind of like a healthy virus in a way.
Right.
It's like we're all connected. We're all connected, even if we don't know the next person. So, you sharing this podcast, folks, could save someone's life. And I actually have been approached before in a coffee shop. Someone had recognized me from an episode I did with the guest. And they said that it saved their life and they were hinting towards suicide. So, it's about saving lives, folks. It's enriching lives. One episode could change someone's life and enrich someone's life forever. So thank you to Bangladesh and Lithuania. Thank you. Um. Oh. But I see the Mexican flag in the back in Alex's background. I want to say Mexico was the third or fourth country, no, fifth country that the podcast was heard in. Mexico is in the top
Nice.
10 um where the podcast is heard in the most. It's in the top 10. Like, so I have in the analytics it shows like a list of the countries and
Hmm.
from where it's heard in the most to where it's heard in the least, and so Mexico is in the top 10. So hola, ¿cómo estás? ¿Qué pasó? To everyone in Mexico, chicas, reinas, I'm working on it. Okay.
Nice.
Folks, let's get into our topics. So today, I'm curious about this. So we'll be talking mental health. We'll be talking AI, and that's what I'm curious about. I want to hear more about that. And we're talking toxic masculinity, right? Um, I guess we should start. Let's start at the toxic masculinity,
Okay.
right? Um, Alex, why that topic? What's your journey with that? What are your talking discussion points on that?
So, you know, during COVID, I became very, I guess, knowledgeable on podcasts, you could say, in the sense that I came to understand and be intrigued by podcasts. So I started listening to a lot of podcasts. I started watching a lot of video podcasts as well. And I was constantly bombarded also on social media with clips of podcasts. And I came across the red pill. And I don't know if you've heard about the red pill and the bubble that they created. And I think that unfortunately that has led to a lot of negative thinking and bad thinking amongst men and
The
how they
manosphere, the red pill's part of the
yes,
manosphere.
basically.
Gotcha,
Yes,
and the
yes.
manoverse. Yes, okay.
Right. So it was something that when I saw it,
Mhm.
I couldn't really find appeal to. I was very confused as to why some of these people were attracting so much support. I didn't question why so many people watched because I myself was watching because I was interested into why they thought the way that they thought. It wasn't a good way of thinking. So I was confused by that. And there was some understanding in it, not that I agreed with it
Right,
at
right.
all, but there was some understanding now from watching and listening to it
Mhm,
that I was able to then say, okay, this is where they're coming from,
mhm.
but that needs to change. That needs to be fixed. That needs to be something that we come to understand better amongst everybody, not just
Mhm.
in that sphere. Because people that, sometimes just become engulfed in their bubbles, it causes an issue because it closes you off to other opinions, other thoughts, and other people where you could find some connection with and some understanding with. And that's why I believe that it's important to step out of your comfort zone for or not out of your bubbles to do that. But the topic or the term toxic masculinity has been thrown around and talked about a lot. And I had agreed to it in extent that, masculinity could be toxic. But recently, I heard on a podcast with the Diary of a CEO that there was this guy who has been leading a charge on helping young men and kids, and obviously, I guess in a way, men, to be a little bit more healthy in their relationships with themselves and with women and just in general, and their mental health and the decisions that they make and the habits that they have to lead to a healthier life. He mentioned how if something is referred to as toxic masculinity, as an action or something is labeled as that, it's probably because it's not actual true masculinity. So that was something that I actually stuck with me that I kind of agree with, which is a good way to try to push for people to be more masculine. Not necessarily that there's anything wrong with being feminine, but quote unquote masculine traits are beneficial for everybody in some cases as well as feminine traits, right? So I think that it's good to refer to those traits more as like a human trait rather than a masculine and feminine trait. But I mean, we continue to use those in a way for people to kind of get a general idea of what we're referring to. So whenever something was referred to as toxic masculine trait or masculinity, is because it's actually not true masculinity. It's something that's actually bad,
Yeah.
that is not good, that it shouldn't be done. For example, just demanding respect, um, to only be strong, to not show emotion, to only be a provider monetarily and not in any other way. Those are things that some might consider traditional male behavior that can be very toxic and then be labeled as toxic
Mhm.
masculinity.
Yeah. Alex, oh, I love what you said, Alex. You brought up some great points, and I'm glad you brought them up because three things that come to my mind. For me personally, this is a personal journey that I'm on. Is
Mhm.
I am figuring out another word to use other than toxic masculinity. Because for
Mhm.
me, because of my trauma and my biases and my experiences with men,
Mhm.
I say toxic masculinity and like my intent with it is the most judgmental, shameful,
Mhm.
hateful, belittling way. So when I
Mhm.
call a male toxic masculinity or say all men are toxic masculinity, I don't say that anymore. But when I did,
Mhm.
I wasn't saying it as a term to bring awareness or enlightenment. I was saying it as a term to like hurt men, to
Mhm.
harm men and be like, well, this is what they get. This is what they did to
Mhm.
me. This is what they did to society. Look at history, and then
Yeah.
So I had to go on this journey because I'm just like, not I was at a point in my healing journey where I was like, okay, I'm ready to say not all men are the same, right?
Mm, mhm,
I'm ready to see that we associate toxic masculinity with only those who are born male, not realizing that
mhm,
those who are born female can also embody those traits because of how they were
mhm.
taught, how they were raised. So I learned that,
Right.
femininity, masculinity in general, like they're just human. Like humans embody can embody both. Um, but
Mhm.
then we have society that comes along and socializes us differently, right? And
Yeah.
teaches us um what masculinity and what femininity is, right? And now we're
Mhm,
seeing how, oh, guess what? Society has been lying, you know. And so I'm trying to figure out a new term. So I'm thinking either misguided masculinity, misdirected masculinity. I'm
mm,
trying to use, for me personally, everyone
right.
else can use toxic masculinity, but because my story with using that word is it was something that was starting to damaged me more than men.
Mhm,
It was kind of like I
right.
was yeah, so I was like taking the poison, and hate is like a gun with boomerang bullets. I feel like for me personally in my healing journey, hate has served its purpose. Hate has been the motivating factor for me to start healing, for me to, do this, for me to do that, for me to speak out, in a loving way,
Mhm,
but still hate had been that root for me. It brought out that type of fire in me that
mhm,
burned a lot of the hate away actually. But
mhm,
it was hate that made me see, wow, I'm not going forward like I need to be, like I want to go
mhm.
forward in my healing journey. um
Right.
so I'm just like, okay, so we got to start changing my words, changing what I say, and truly believing it too. And so yes, me personally, I'm using the word misguided masculinity. I mean, that's the best that I got right now. But
Sounds good, actually. I like that.
yeah, because it also, hearing me when I said toxic masculinity, and when also I first heard toxic masculinity, of course how I heard it was different how than my neighbor, just because I that word is being filtered through my own bias lens, my own traumas,
Mhm.
my own
Right.
healing journey or lack of healing back then, or just in general. I'm not saying lack of healing in a bad way. I just mean that's just the healing that I am now is not the healing that I was then. So, and just giving
Mhm.
context to my journey, and not saying that people, who view me in a certain way aren't healed or not healed. I'm not saying any of that. I'm just not.
Right.
And then, yeah, but we're seeing now that these teachings of masculinity, what a quote unquote man should be, it's like what I was taught and what I've seen, what I've observed is, society saying be a man, be a man, be everything but human.
Right.
Humans are complex. Humans have emotions, right? Humans
Mhm.
cry. Everyone is human first before they are male, female, or intersex. For those who don't know what intersex is, intersex are individuals that are literally born either both or neither. So some people are born with a penis and a vagina, both. All right. some pe- can you see my finger?
Yeah,
Some
a little bit.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I know. Yeah. Some people were born with a penis and a vagina, right? Some people were born neither. Some people were born with hormones of male, female, and some people were born neither. We're just not taught that. But there's millions of people that are intersex. Most of them just look quote unquote female. But yeah, there are individuals, and this was normal part of society. But our colonialism took that out, and the victors get to share parts of history that they want. So, um, No,
Mhm.
don't get me started on that. But for folks who didn't know, and I also want to recognize the millions out there that are intersex. I know we don't get enough attention at all, but it's coming back. Like it's coming back. Like folks are gonna start learning about intersex, and especially they're gonna find out that they were born intersex as well. Let me not get into that right now. But yeah, so you have society saying be a man, be everything but human, right? And then, we're seeing that that's not working. We're seeing how there are more female-born citizens in America than male-born citizens. However, men make up on average 76% of suicides. So we're seeing, and that's huge. There's more
Mhm.
female-born than male-born in America. More female-born. Men make up 76, on average, 76% of the suicides. So we're seeing this whole stuff it down, be a man, don't be human. This is not working. This is killing people. This is making it hard for men to be vulnerable. It's especially when, and I'm not blaming men. I'm blaming the systems because I had to recognize that, once upon a time, these men were just little kids who were being taught. And as kids, you're soaking up your environment because that's survival. You don't know no better. And so I dare to say that a lot of it is just not their fault because now it is our responsibility, but not their fault. And I mean that in a way of like, this started to them, it didn't start with them. So if I'm blaming this other person, that's valid. That's cool. Their actions, they're responsible for their actions. They're responsible for their own healing, for their own unlearning. They're responsible. However, they can be responsible and it not be their fault necessarily. That's just what I feel. And that's huge for me to say because I wouldn't say that 2, 3 years ago.
Yeah.
I would have let the anger and just be like, I don't care, whatever, I don't care, you know. But I had to start seeing men as little kids again, and not in a demeaning way, but as a way for
Mhm.
me to like, cause when it comes to kids, I just have like all the grace and love in the world. It seems like, I just I see they're just learning. They're so innocent, so pure, and I'm just like, everyone's a kid first before they're an adult. What happened? Where did society fail? Where did their environments fail them, whether intentionally or unintentionally? That's just like, will I go to a 4-year old and blame him? Will I say to a 4-year old, well, you're embodying toxic masculinity? No, I'm going to say, okay, what are the parents teaching? What is society
Right.
teaching? This kid don't know. What is his school teaching? Oh, is he trying to be vulnerable but he's getting shut down? Is he in an environment that is showing him, hey, if you be vulnerable, you're not safe, we're going to make fun of you. Oh, you're crying, we're going to make fun of you and call you weak. Not even having the the knowledge of, guess what, folks, like, did you know it's damaging for your brain long term if you do not cry? You have to cry. Humans have to cry.
Mhm.
It's literally damaging for you psychologically, and we're seeing how holding in tears, holding in trauma, I'm almost finished, Alex, I swear. Holding in
No, it's
tears,
good.
holding in trauma, we're seeing how that is directly correlated to incarceration, mental illness, suicide, cancer, heart disease, high blood pressure, cholesterol, strokes. Folks, this whole, this misguided masculinity, it's 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 embedded in stigma and sorry, I'm trying to hold in a burp. It's embedded in stigma and
Mhm.
it's killing our men. I'm not saying it's the only thing killing men, but it's a huge
Right.
factor. It's a huge factor, and so for example, like majority of, alcohol buying is males, and it's historically we've seen, when alcohol is in the system, a lot of things that have been suppressed start to come out. and that's a good way to tell what's going on with
Mhm.
someone. Sometimes, not all the time, but we're seeing, you know, all this shoving things down and not showing anybody and, being quote unquote strong. We see that that's leading to addiction. We see it's leading to suicide, cancer, and all that good stuff. So we're seeing it now, like now that there's more research out there. But I understand
Mhm.
that last generation, this wasn't necessarily talked about, you know? The people
Right.
that have raised us, I'm not saying you or me, I'm just saying this generation, but for me, I'm saying for
Mhm.
me, for sure. Um,
Yeah.
were a people who were raised thinking this was the normal, that men should not cry. That's only for women. And women, if they cry too much, we're going to give them a lobotomy. There is a lot of ignorance. And I don't mean ignorance in a shameful way, folks. I mean ignorance as in just not knowing. Governments knew, systems knew, but society did not know. So our parents, not saying we can't hold them accountable. I'm just saying, though, that yes, hold them accountable and also hold the times accountable as well. Would my parents have treated me the same way if they had this knowledge? Right? Would they? Would I be taught men shouldn't cry? Be a man. I'm just like, first off, I'm 5 years old. How can I be a grown man? Let me be 5 years old. What the fuck? Kids cry, If I
Right.
hurt my knee, I'm gonna cry. But no, my
Mhm.
father, um, yeah, no, I mean, I would literally get beat because I couldn't cry. And my father was the definition of misguided masculinity. I mean,
Mm.
yeah. So, and then last thing is this whole, you know, like you were mentioning, Alex, with the manosphere, right? Here,
Mhm.
I view. Here's a more of an analogy, or not analogy, some imagery, right? It's like, so imagine, folks, imagine if y'all heard this before, probably, from my episodes, but imagine, what's the average male height in America? 5'10", I think. I don't know. So imagine a
Yeah, something like that.
5'10" male silhouette, right? And then imagine a box next to it. I say an Amazon box because I just can't stop with Amazon. As much as I don't want to support that man, I gotta be on Amazon. So imagine that box, and that box is what the systems and what society says a man should be. And not allowing a man to be what he could be, allowing him to only be what society says he could be. So if you try to stuff a human in that box, a silhouette in that box, that's not going to fit, right? So what do you do to fit in that box? You cut off a limb. Oh, you still can't fit. So you cut off another arm, cut off a leg, cut off another leg, cut off a head. Now you have this torso. Oh, that can fit. But where's the rest of the man? Right? Like, where's
Mhm.
the rest? Where's his arms to move, to do what he wants to do what he could do? It's in that box. And now who can move it? No, who can move it? But I mean, society, I would say maybe someone comes along and moves it for them. And where are they going to put that box? Who knows what they're
Mhm.
going to do to it? But the point is, the point that I'm getting at is, you know, systems and society has taught people to deny so much of their humanity. And
Yep.
one of the ways that we see that is in the misguided masculinity. Um, in some ways, there's also misguided femininity. That's just not talked about as much. Um, but yeah, so there's just the box, and the box can look different. There's intersectionality. It can look different for different people. You know what I mean? I was
Mhm.
raised. Well, I hate saying the word machismo just because I learned the origins of it. It was like a racist term. But like, I don't know how else to say it. Like, my father was the Hispanic one, and my mother's
Mhm.
African American. So I was getting the like, yes, toxic masculinity, but it can also look different in different cultures.
Mhm.
Just as many things can look different in different cultures, it can be the same. It can be the same thing. It can be the same thing, just experienced differently based off the culture.
Right.
And so I was getting both of that, especially for my father. And so I'm looking
Mhm.
back now and I'm able to see and I'm able to get this knowledge and learn and do the research and unlearn so many things, Alex, of misguided masculinity. And it concerns me because of the suicide rates.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. The suicide rates are very very, I mean, just suicide in general is really bad, but
Yeah.
the rates that are expressed for men is
Hmm.
alarming, and it's, I think a lot of people are speaking up, but like I said, it might be in spheres, it might be in our own little groups, and that's why it's not spread as much as it should be.
Hmm.
Um, it's something that definitely needs attention, that needs help quick, soon, and I hope and I'm seeing that it's going that way, so I'm hopeful for it. I'm hoping that, you and I both, with what you're doing and what I'm doing, I think we can reach to people and do that, and at least that's one of my goals, with what I'm doing, with the content that I'm making, with what I'm sharing, to be that escape for somebody, to they can learn to try to get away from their head, because there's a lot of things in their mind that causes this. And like you said, it's traumas, it's the way that they brought up, it's society, it's their culture, it's tradition. Some of these things, just to give them a little bit of benefit of the doubt, or being devil's advocate, some of these things come from a good heart or come from a good place. They're just not employed correctly. They're not taught correctly. And it leads to all of these negative things that have trickled down through many generations and led to what it might be today. And unfortunately, it's bad. So I think one of the things that you said that caught my attention a lot, that is very interesting that you see it that way. I've heard it maybe from a couple people, but I don't hear it often. And I think it's very important because sometimes it's very hard to forgive someone. It's very hard to understand somebody who does a really bad thing to us or in general. And I think that seeing them as a kid is what changes your mind or opens your eyes a little bit more. I think that is very, very a beautiful thing to do, because it can help you heal a lot and understand a lot. And that's, I mean, part of the reason my streaming name or my content name is Kid Dro. That's why I have kid in it. It's to talk and to refer to the fact that I think we should all always try to be like kids. Be that innocent, curious mind
Yeah.
that only wants to be happy and enjoy and share all of those things that, kids, without obviously having the traumas and being brought up, in a regular healthy household or healthy society, tend to show those traits, right? So that's one of the reasons why I have that. And I mean, I'm very religious, and that's another thing. It's in the word. When they asked Jesus what would be the perfect way to get into heaven, to get into the kingdom of God, and he brings a kid and puts him in between them too, and he's, you need to be like this. And I think that's beautiful. That's another reason to try to be like kids and understand and see that a lot of people's anger and the way that they might treat you come from, the way they might have been mistreated as a kid. So I think that helps healing, that helps to heal, that helps for people to understand others a lot. And then to move on to the obviously the misguided masculinity, and what you experience compared to like maybe what my biases are, my experiences. I'm glad that you were able to heal from it, and now be at in a better place. I think that's very good, and thank you for sharing. um I personally did not experience it that heavy, and that word machista is something that it's very common in the Hispanic community to label as the toxic traits of some of the men in our culture. I don't know the history of it. You said it there might have been some racist history
Yeah,
to that, so
it was. racist against it was used at first as a racist term against Mexicans.
Oh, okay.
Way, way,
So yeah,
way back then when it first came about.
okay,
Mhm,
makes sense. Um, but yeah, it's something that can be like you mentioned, it can be shown in many different ways. It could be shown in, oh, you should not cry, which is something that maybe you experienced a lot. I personally didn't experience that. My father was very open on me
nice.
expressing my emotions and being able to cry, but it was shown differently in the sense
Mm,
that you need to be strong. Now, sometimes we put that pressure on ourselves a little too much. I think that my parents were very strict and I wanted to make them proud. I wanted to follow the rules. I wanted to be a role model to my younger siblings all the time, being the oldest child. So I think I put a lot of pressure on myself. So I think my parents did push for some of that, but I think maybe I did some of it myself. But it was in a way that you need to be strong. So in that sense, even though they told me it was okay to cry, I, through society, who then teaches you or tells you that if you cry, you're weak,
mm,
then I related that to the you need to be strong. So
yeah,
then in a way, I kind of put that on myself of I shouldn't cry.
yeah,
But another other things that I think it's also a big issue is the idea that the man has to be the provider.
right.
Especially nowadays, within the last couple of years, women have stepped up a lot, and they're obviously able to provide as well. And they stepped up for many different reasons.
Mhm,
Even the toxicity in the relationships of not being dependent on a man to survive
mhm,
made them want to pursue careers, pursue a job, pursue a way to be independent, and that's empowering. That's very good. And so that's the reason that that came about. So a lot of things relate to others for the for why they happen, and a lot of the time sometimes we think that it's their fault and it comes from us in the
yeah,
sense of, oh, woman, blah blah blah, but it's men were the one that pushed them away. Men are the ones like, oh no, we need to provide and we're going to treat you however we want
mhm,
because that's just how it has to be. We need to be the provider and you need to do everything else. You can't be the provider, you can't work, blah blah blah. We try to suppress them, and that's what basically ended up empowering them. And that's the interesting things about life as well. It works sometimes in connection and sometimes against. So it's important to analyze and understand all of those things. And I think it's important that why make the distinction of the things that are good between men and women instead of just you know seeing them as both good for men and women,
yeah,
right? Why make the distinctions of, oh, this is toxic only for men, this is toxic only for women? Like you said, there's some traits that are reflected on both that are toxic, right? So sometimes it could be referred to, like, just referring to it so that people understand, toxic masculinity traits can be reflected in some women and it's not talked about. And just the other way, um, toxic feminine traits can be reflected in some men and is not talked about because they it's borrowed from the other person in society, and it causes that, oh well, it's not an issue. But let's be honest, if it's toxic, and it needs to be handled, it needs to be understood, or at least try to explain, so that sometimes a lot of people that are employing those traits, they don't know what they're doing,
mhm,
right? Sometimes out of, some trauma, sometimes it's out of just society experience, or just misinformation. Like you said, ignorance. A lot of people's ignorance leads them to be these kind of ways.
yeah,
And unfortunately, by just shaming or ridiculing these people, it doesn't help. That doesn't push to now make this person knowledgeable. It just pushes them further into some aspect of depression or being neglected and
yeah,
and and feeling lonely. So it hurts them and closes them out.
yeah,
And I think that a lot of the things that we need to understand is that speaking out on our feelings is not an issue. It's important. Communication
mhm,
is super important.
yeah,
And if you want to be somebody who's strong and who doesn't cry, you need to know the healthy way to do that, because we can't just say, oh, if you're a person who doesn't cry, you're also not human, right? There's
mhm,
some people that might not be able to cry. There's some people that might not show their emotion through crying.
mhm,
Now, physically and, like you said, statistically, maybe scientifically, there's some benefits to that. right? And you should probably give it at least give it a try, right? But if you're healthy and you're a good person, yet you're still not able to cry, then that's also okay. So it's okay to,
Mhm.
fall into what some people might think is traditional,
Mhm.
even though traditional might hurt a lot of people. If you're able to make traditional work and you're not hating on others and you're not affecting others and you're not, forcing anything on others, then it's also okay. So that you understand that just because you have a different understanding, culture, perspective than another person, that doesn't necessarily make you a bad person.
Mhm.
And it's important to listen to others and to try to understand, because if we just listen and we don't try to understand, we just give them a listening ear. Sometimes a lot of people, and this is something that happens in my relationship, sometimes I've been able to grow emotionally in my relationship so much. I've been able to communicate my emotions a little bit better. I've been able to express my emotions and try to connect with others a lot better because of my relationship. So I'm thankful for my partner for that reason. Shout out to her. But it's important to not just listen but to understand. So not just to apologize, but to know why you're apologizing. So it's hearing and being able to reciprocate what the person is talking to you about. Because as much as you'll be able to listen to somebody, if you're not able to relate the fact that you did listen, sometimes the other person still doesn't feel listened to. So I think that's why it's very important to listen and to understand other people, especially people who we might be outside of our bubble. Because it's easy to connect with people who might think the same as us, that come from the same culture, same understanding. Those people we'll be able to connect to easily. It's whenever we step out and listen to others that then we're like, it even expands our understanding, it expands our connection, and we're able to relate much easier.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. That's so beautiful. Exactly. A lot of and I also want to add on the oh, 1 second. I just got a spam call, and with the new update, you could see with the recent update, you can see the voicemail, right? I'm up there thinking,
Yeah.
oh, it's like I'm thinking because there's something with my job that I kind of was like, is that them calling me? No, it's not them calling
Right.
me. Alex, you want to know what it says?
What does it say?
Authorize the. I'm not gonna read all of it.
Oh,
Authorize
I
the
see. The
payment of
payment.
$999 for the recent order of an Apple iPhone 16 Pro on your account. It's authorized payment. Shut up. This is not even calling from a iPhone number. Shut up.
It's a scam.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm just like, yeah, no, no. I know on my account, if I want to order a phone, I just go on Amazon. That's what I
That's a
do.
good new feature though, right?
That is a really cool new
Mhm.
feature.
Yeah.
That is a really cool new feature. Exactly. So it's just like, yeah, I don't gotta click on the message. And I was like, we love the transcribing. But yes,
Mm.
Alex, I loved everything you said. I think that was beautiful. That actually um taught me something when you said, you know, sometimes what if the person just doesn't express sadness by crying, but they still express it in a happy like not happy, in a healthy way, in a way that's for them.
Mhm.
I never really thought about that. I was like, oh yeah, that's yeah, because like everyone's different. It's when we're talking
Mhm.
about humans, something that I learned when we're talking about, and I have to remind myself this, and you reminded me of this without even trying. Humans are never black and white. It's always gray. Humans are way too complex,
Mhm.
and especially to generalize that really, 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 it's really, really, really dangerous. Um,
Yeah, there's many people who can get easily offended by a generalization.
mm,
And that's something that I've come to learn too as well in my relationship. It was something about along the same lines you mentioned earlier of like all men this, all men that, but they're not really referring to all men.
right,
And
right.
they're not really referring to, so I've come to, whenever I used to hear that, I'd be like, well, why do you think all men? And then I'll push back.
Mhm.
And then through that pushback, to be fair, was where I came to the understanding, um, of, it's they're referring to majority, or is a generalization
Mhm.
just as an expression. And sometimes even they might actually feel like it is all men, which is very unfortunate
Mhm.
and fair to feel as well.
I love
So
that you
so yeah, they
validated
can,
that.
like you said, is dangerous.
I I love that you validated that. Yeah, because part of my healing journey, there was once upon a time, multiple times that I literally thought all men, literally
Mhm,
all men. I mean, all. And then I was just, this took healing journey, folks. As a reminder, journey. As a reminder to myself, journey is
mhm.
and healing is a process, not a point. And I had to remind
Right.
myself that because sometimes I'm just like, why am I not like this way yet?
There
Even
yet.
though like I'm
Yeah.
progressing, I'm just like, why am I not this way? And I was like, you know what? Have grace on yourself, Josias. Anyways, so yeah, so it started with I literally thought all men were rapists. I mean, literally, like I literally thought that's something all men did. I literally thought all
Mhm,
men were rapists. I literally did. Like I'm not even joking. Like in high school, folks, I literally thought all men were rapists. I mean, every single male. I just thought that that was something that they were going to become, something that they have already been, or something that they were all for. Um, Literally, like, I'm not even exaggerating, folks. Like you would think it'd be exaggeration. No.
mhm,
And anyways, the healing journey occurred at my near death experience, folks, some of y'all know, when I died, went on the other side and came back. It was beautiful, beautiful, beautiful being on the other side. But anyways, so eventually that's I digress. But eventually,
mhm.
so it started when I thought all men were rapists, right? And then it turned into
Mhm,
I hate all men. And that was that way for a while. And then but I had to be ready to for this part of my healing journey. When I say this, like I had to be ready. I had to feel all my emotions. I had to be angry, grieve, mourn the loss of my childhood, and grieve the fact that I have to heal through trauma. Like I had to grieve. I had to grieve, and
mhm,
in this way, a lot of the grief, not all, but a lot of the grief was anger towards men. And then I was at a part of my healing journey where I was able to uncover what was under that anger, because I know
mm,
it's still debated in psychology if anger is a first emotion or a secondary emotion.
mm,
Um, so it's still debated. So one of the arguments is anger is a secondary emotion. It's because it's covering up. There's roots to it. That's what was the arguments that I've seen. But so, anyways, Alex, it got into okay, I just hate majority of men. And then it came to,
mhm,
oh, I just hate my experiences with men. Most of
mhm,
my experiences, most of what I've heard others experiences, all men. So I'm just like, okay. And then it came to a point where, and this is where things really started to shift, is when it came to a point, Alex, when I was like, you know what? I can't say I hate all men because I've not met all men. Now, if
mm,
I were to meet all men on this earth, there's billions of people on this earth. If I were to meet all men, they all were trash, then I could finally fully say all men are
mhm.
trash. But I,
Right.
but I couldn't. I couldn't because I was just like, so that's what helped me to heal was to catch myself and be like, wait, that's not fair. That's not fair. That's
Mhm,
not fair to all men. Now, it's fair to say majority of my experiences with men have not been the best. Now that's
mhm,
fair. But where I was
mhm,
going with it, it was just a route where, it was a point in time in my healing journey when I'm just like, okay, I'm ready to see. And so, anyways, and so it turned into, oh, I have to see men as humans now. And then it turned into, I can't, that's not working too much for me. I need to see them as children first before I can see them
mhm,
as human. And now I'm at a point where I'm just like, okay, I can see men, who they are, where they are right now, not human, the ones that were taught, be a man, don't be human. to see that,
Mhm.
to meet them where they're at, still accept them. I mean,
Mhm.
that's where I'm currently at in my healing journey. So I went from all the way that to this. And so, but it took a journey though. And I gave grace to myself because like I understand like why, and I understand like when people say that, I asked what was their experience? What taught them that? Who taught them that over and over and over and over?
Mhm.
What experiences showed them that over and over and over and over again that they had no choice but to think all men are like this? So
Right.
that was my journey. So that's where I'm at now. So like I'm able, and of course, like especially in my undergrad, that was Alex, I met you my freshman year in my undergrad. Did you
Okay.
know that was the first year that I ever had male friendships?
I did not know that.
That
No.
was the first year. The first year. So, yeah, and so if there any of them are listening, shout out to y'all for putting up with me because I know back then I projected some things. You know, I didn't know how to have male friendships. I didn't, but I mean, I'm at a point now, where I'm starting to see men as they are and um just loving them as they are. Not saying I agree with everything. As with any human being, I'm sure there's things that I will disagree and vice versa. They'll
Mhm.
disagree with me, and that's comes with the human experience.
Right.
Um, but I really just want to get all men on earth and just give them a big hug. Just one huge hug and just be like, I'm sorry the systems and society has failed you. Maybe not in it's not saying society in this well the system did shit intentionally. Don't get me started on capitalism and stuff like that. But society is also in a way misguided. I blame society a lot because we perpetrate and exacerbate a lot of things. Like we
Mhm.
continue the curse, we're
Yeah.
handed by the system. But anyways, I'm just want to say I'm so sorry to all men, dear all men, whether society intentionally or unintentionally put you in a box. I'm so sorry. You are worthy of being seen. You are worthy of being open, human, vulnerable. You're worthy of exploring. Shit, look at me. Listen, I don't get my nails done anymore, but I used to love getting my nails done and I do kickboxing. So I was like, yeah, feminine, masculine. I throw those gloves on so fast, I'll be the first one to get a manicure, pedicure. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
And to be fair, that the all men thing, it also exists in the other way.
Oh
There's this
yeah.
also this idea that, oh, women are all the same, blah
Yes.
blah blah.
Yeah.
Women are all this, women are all that, and so it happens both ways. That's why it's
It
like
does,
I
but if you
said,
say
you
that in
said earlier.
society, people gonna gun down the throat. It's more
Yeah, they're gonna
accepted.
yeah, because people don't want to see each other as humans. They want to see
Mhm.
each other as different.
Yeah,
So
that's wow. That's very true, actually. Wow, you said that very poetically. Ooh, that was very poetic. Yeah, it's more accepted to say all men suck than to say all women suck. It's way more accepted. Like in a room full of men, I can get away with saying that, like all men suck. Like I have,
yeah.
I've gotten away with it. Um, I don't feel all women suck, but I understand that that's women have always been like a safe haven for me. So I
Hmm.
recognize that my experiences are why. However, you want to know something? So I interviewed Andrew Tate's ex-girlfriend, right? You know who Andrew Tate is,
Hmm.
right?
Right.
You know
Yeah.
how he views women and things like that. I interviewed his
Right.
ex-girlfriend. I'm not um could you I'm scared to say it out loud because she might be listening. I'm not releasing that episode. I'm not releasing that. That was damn, I never thought I'd ever not release an episode of Vulnerability Time. I never thought that. But if y'all heard it, y'all would see. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is yeah. But
Wow.
anyways, Andrew Tate, and this would help me humanize him. As a kid,
Mm.
he has a lot of mother wounds that man been through trauma. And I was like, that makes sense because I have a lot of like had a lot of father wounds, right? My
Mhm.
father was my first bully. He was my first abuser. He was the second man to molest me, second or third. Second man to molest me. Um, that man was he taught me hate, right?
Mm.
My first insecurities, my first eating disorder. I remember in one of my poems I said my father was my first eating disorder because he tried to he was a pastor. He tried to
Mm.
starve me straight. He tried to beat me straight because he saw I was a little
Mm.
feminine and things like that. Mind you, this man was raping so many kids. So yeah, and that man is just corrupt and evil. And I try not to say that about humans. No, that man's evil. I want nothing to do with him. I mean, I've forgiven him. Not saying I had to forgive him, but I've forgiven him just because it
Mhm.
was healthy for me, healthier for me.
Right.
But
Mhm.
yeah, no, that I want nothing to do with him. Bye, goodbye. But anyways, the point of the matter is, see that stuff taught me to see men in the way that I saw them. So
Mhm.
when I heard that Andrew Tate went through that, I'm like, but he went through it with his mother, right? I don't
Right.
know about the
Right.
molesting. I just know it was mother wounds and he's went through a lot of
Mhm.
trauma growing up. I do know that much.
Mhm.
From his ex, right? And um so why would I think that how I viewed men wouldn't be like why would I think that that wouldn't apply to him as well just because it's women that he's viewing
Mhm.
the negative way. So it helped me get understanding that someone like Andrew Tate, I'm like, okay, like because if I'm being honest with y'all, like I wouldn't say I was as toxic as Andrew Tate, but I was pretty
Yeah.
bad when it came towards men, like how I talked about men. Like I was pretty damn bad. And of course it was more acceptable and especially because, you know, all the girls around me, yeah, they also experience some
Maybe
things.
relate to it, yeah.
Yes, exactly. And
Mhm.
then especially with things that also were just going on in society and historically, it was just easy. It's just easier. But anyways,
Yeah.
so it just made me it humbled me and it helped me have grace, you know, even if it's
Mhm.
just a little bit of grace. Like it helped me have some grace and some understanding because I'm like, if a child went through that trauma, like now that will get my attention and just be like, okay, pause. Pause your judgmental train because there's I'm not a fan of judging, but when it comes to certain like high ranking individuals, I just don't view them as humans anymore.
Mm.
I don't think I've ever have any celebrity. I just don't really view them as humans. I guess because they're always told to be put on a type of pedestal. I don't know. I don't view that as human. I don't view pedestals as human. I view realness as human. But anyways, but
Mhm.
so I'm just like, okay, so that's where a lot of his his toxic words towards women, that's where that shit's might be coming
Coming
from.
from. Yeah.
So I'm like, shit. Oh, gotcha. Okay. Well, see, now that changes a narrative in my head because now I know more. But I
Mhm.
also because I experienced it, right? Just mine just
Right.
happened to be from men, but like if mine was from women, what if I'm pretty sure, yeah, it probably would be, but it would never, for me, I don't think it would ever be for women, but it probably would have been the same way, right? If the same actions happened to me, it probably would have been the same way, and men were the safe haven, probably been the same way. So,
Right.
yeah, so that just, so, so like, it made me, that's what that made me think of when you're like, there's also folks that also say all women are like this, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean that is true. And I'm glad you mentioned that. That humbled my biases because I was just mentioning them. And so yeah, so that's what that made me think about. It's just like, yeah, like there's a reason. Like, what's that reason? Like, oftentimes, I'm not saying all the time, but many people they're getting it from somewhere.
Right.
Yeah, and so that just Yeah, Andrew Tate. Folks, I'm not releasing his I mean, I'm not releasing her episode, The Ex-Girlfriend. I'm not releasing it. Sorry.
You're gonna get people wanting it.
I am. Some people already do want it, but I also don't want to get tied up in his legal battles that he's already doing because let me be quiet.
True.
Let me be quiet. She had said some stuff. She also said some hateful stuff. Like some hateful stuff. Like for real, like honestly, she said some hateful stuff. And for real.
Mhm.
But I learned to view Andrew Tate differently though. And
Mhm.
that was important for my healing journey
Right.
till this day. And so I'm just like, hey, there was a purpose. I guess the purpose was for me.
Mhm.
Um, because
Yeah,
yeah. So I know
that's
we're
good.
over an hour, and I want to be respectful of your time. Um, Alex, before we head out, is there anything else you would like to? Any last words, comments, shout outs?
Well, if you wanted to try to quickly talk about any of the other topics, we
Oh,
can if you have
is
the
that okay
time.
with you?
That's fine with me.
Okay, let's do it then.
I know you were interested, obviously, in one of the other
The
ones. We can
AI.
quickly go through, yeah, we can quickly go through mental health or go straight to the AI and then call it a day. It's fine with me as well.
Okay,
Whatever
good.
you prefer.
Do you have 10, 15 more minutes?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, good. Yeah, I was wrapping up because I was like, oh my God, I don't want to overstep your time boundaries. I'm so sorry. But okay, if you're good. So, mental health. So, we talked a little bit about mental health,
Right.
but we can, but the emphasis was more, it
The
more so
toxic masculinity aspect. Yep.
compliment. Exactly. So,
Mhm.
why the mental health topic, Alex?
So some of the important things that I've seen, and this can potentially eventually lead into the some of the AI stuff, because there's some mental issues with that as well.
Mm,
But one of the things was the way that social media and the internet has been affecting us, and obviously being a person who's on social media and the internet so much, I can see it and I can understand it, and doing some research, I get a little bit more of the reaffirmation of the things that I see and feel. So I think that social media has, obviously negatively impacted our depression and anxiety, and it's mostly because of social medias like Instagram, things like that, where the posts are idealized and shown as the best post.
yeah.
And it leads to people comparing themselves. It leads to people, feeling bad about where they are, feeling
Mm,
bad about where they start comparing and saying, "Oh, I wish I could be like that," or "I wish," and it leads to loneliness. It leads to them also just not wanting to hang out because they feel insecure about their bodies. They see models, they see people with amazing quote unquote bodies that
mm,
potentially are even edited, right?
right. Oh,
They're
yeah.
filtered, they're modified. Yeah, all of that is done. It's to look the best. And they're not shown as the truth.
Mm,
They're mostly shown, like I said, is an idealized post. And it leads to this depression, this anxiety, this loneliness
mm,
that then leads into even further issues.
mm,
Um, Loneliness further impacts depression and anxiety, as well as cognitive skills and physical health. Like you mentioned,
yes.
there's a lot of physical issues that come with all of this mental issues,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
um, and a lot of studies have backed that up more recently.
Yeah.
It's being, like you said, studied more, it's being
Higher rates
seen
for
more.
cancer. Those who are lonely have higher
Yep,
rates for cancer and diabetes and early death or something like that. I mean, not diabetes. What was it? High cholesterol, um, cancer,
high blood pressure.
high blood pressure.
Yep.
That's all I saw. Um, but I remember I stopped like doing research on it because I was starting to get triggered. But I'm sure there's more. Yeah, like that shit's not good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not. I mean, it's people who lack. It's also not just being lonely in the sense of being at home, right?
Right.
Because somebody could go out
Right.
and still be lonely,
Right.
and somebody could stay at home and not be lonely.
Right.
It's that lack of relationships with
Mm,
others. It could be like your relationship with friends, your partner, your family. It can be a lack of relationships and connections with all of those things that lead into the loneliness, and that loneliness is what makes the mental health worse. And studies show that people who are in that loneliness have those mental and physical problems almost, I think it was like 3 times as much as somebody who doesn't, right?
Mm.
Compared to somebody who has
Wow,
who
3?
lacks loneliness, who is, in relationships, or, actually does have some friendships, family,
Wow.
whatever it is, right? They don't feel lonely. They don't get as sick for those
Right,
for the issues that loneliness does, right? So to I don't know what you have to say to that, and then we can potentially wrap up this mental health part of it. But it's just, to me, it's crazy how social media has unfortunately impacted us that way, and led into more loneliness, especially through the COVID era. I
man.
think COVID, made us had to stay inside, and made us develop these habits of not yearning or searching. We probably yearn, but we don't search. We don't step out of our comfort zones to say, "Let me go talk to somebody. Let me go meet a stranger. Let
Right,
me go make a friend. Let me go reach out to my friends. Let me, you know, talk with my family. Let me try to have better connection with my partner." All these things, it unfortunately has led to that.
right. I have no
But
I have n
no comment.
I have no comment. I mean, I didn't know 3 times more likely because someone's wow, I didn't know that.
So in terms of that, some of the things that, just to speak to growth and to get out of this, not just the negative impact of it. I think it's important to help people who might be feeling this way, who
Mhm,
might be suffering through loneliness, and some of this, issues in social media of comparison, and all that. I think some of the things that has helped me, in the sense of, because I felt lonely before. I interned in Mississippi for a whole summer, and I was out there with two roommates who
m
didn't
m
really, like, connect that much, and I
Mississippi?
wasn't connecting with them. Yeah.
Hmm,
I'm in Mississippi for, like, a summer, as a
cool, cool.
engineering intern. I was working at a shipyard,
Nice.
for a government contractor that, helped do, like, warships and things like that, so it
Yeah.
was really
I'm
interesting.
gonna ask you
But
something after this recording, by the way, about you mentioned Mississippi. I'm just gonna ask you something after the recording.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, no problem. So going back to some of the things, that could help is trying to be organized. I think a lot of people have pushed this, and I understand it, and it's not as simple as this,
Mhm.
but this is what they're referring to. Whenever you wake up, make your bed. That is something that, it's a win in the morning, and it's something that, instead of going to your phone, instead of using your phone and messing up your dopamine, and all of that stuff, disrupting your sleep and all that, like, make your bed in the morning. But what that's mostly referring to is being organized. I hate if my room gets unorganized, and it does, right? It gets unorganized all the time. I'm doing laundry, or I ate and dishes are piling up. There's a lot of these things that I see and feel uncomfortable, and it leads to me not feeling good throughout the day. So by being organized helps you do that. So that's what making the bed in the morning is referring to. Another
That's a
important
good
thing is
point.
seek relationships. So seek good relationships and hobbies. Understand the things that you like, and try to reach out to people that might do those things. And you'll find, by having a common hobby with somebody, it allows you to connect with them, and maybe even in more ways than just one. You might share more hobbies than you think, and it might lead to friendships, to relationships, and just making sure that your relationships are healthy relationships. If you're in a toxic relationship, it's probably better to try to solve the issue or step out of it. You don't want to be in that atmosphere. Um, Another thing, and it's something that I speak a lot in my Instagram, because this is just quickly for me to record myself talking about it, and it mostly comes after I go on a run in the morning. But it's have goals and do things that feel fulfilling. So by understanding your hobbies and the things that you like, that also might bring to the surface things that make you feel fulfilled,
Yeah.
things that feel good to
Mhm.
accomplish. So accomplishing things and understanding, like you said earlier, it's about the journey, not necessarily the goal or like a post, right? It's the process of it that you should try to get to enjoy. So having goals is important, and if they're big goals that might seem unreachable, try to break them down to smaller goals that are, then reachable, little by little, to a bigger goal. And last but not least, I think the one of the most beneficial things that, it might sound hypocritical because I've never done it, but is going to therapy. I've
I
never been
love
to therapy, but
therapy.
therapy to me has I've seen the benefits of it in the people around me and just the people that I know in general and in social media, online, how therapy is helpful. And sometimes it can start from seeking help with your friends that
Yes.
then leads to that. So you can also, just talk to friends. So that's why it's important to be able to communicate, talk with
Mhm,
others, and being able to open up about your feelings. I
mhm,
know it sucks and it's scary to be vulnerable. I understand, but being vulnerable is not a weakness. Being vulnerable is a strength because you're opening yourself up to being hurt. And by understanding that you can be hurt, you're strong in understanding that and still putting yourself in that position. That's a strength in itself, not a weakness. So be open, be vulnerable, and obviously don't be naive and think that people are not going to be mean to you. You're by opening up, there's this thing called rejection. Don't be scared of rejection. You might be get rejected, even if it's somebody you know that you're trying to get in a relationship or get to know better. You can be rejected in that. You can be rejected in friends. You can be rejected in family. Rejection is okay. We need to be okay with being rejected. We need to have a healthy relationship with that because sometimes it brings us down into not wanting to try things anymore, and that's where it becomes a bad thing.
mhm,
So, if you try 10 times to make a new friend and you only succeed once and that one time came at the 10th try, if you would have given up after two or three, you would have never made that friend.
mhm.
So be okay,
Yeah.
have a healthy relationship with that.
I love what you said. I love that too. Reminds me of like, just sometimes it could be facing the fear of unknown. Like, yes, you could like, get hurt. You also could get healing. You also can get
Right.
hope and happiness. So yeah,
Hmm.
facing that unknown that can come with it. Because vulnerability, yeah, it can definitely be difficult sometimes.
Yep.
Yep.
So if you would like to talk about quickly about some AI,
Yeah,
um,
what's your take on that? You picked the topic
so
AI. I'm curious.
Yeah, so I
Excited.
mean, the fact that you said that you were interested on it kind of made me a little bit scary and scared at least in the sense that I'm not super knowledgeable on it, but I've been doing a little bit more research on it,
Nice.
going through the process of, getting a new job. I've been seeing and how AI has been employed to look through resumes, to do all these weird things that I'm like, that's so interesting. That's insane.
Mhm,
And then I've asked people or employers, hiring managers that are asking, I ask them, how do you guys use AI? Are you guys using AI in your job? And most companies are using their own AI, and it's because they push their own algorithms and models into it to give them the feedback that they need. And a lot of these uses they're very helpful. It's impacting all kind of industries in the sense of helping them with some of their day to day tasks. So across all the industries, AI is affecting it. It's affecting how we work, how we live, and how we interact. Um, Many companies make their own AI, so it's if used properly, it's very very helpful.
mhm,
But the thing that I'm mostly curious about, and then I wanted to ask you is what do you think about AI in the sense that can it be used in do you think it's good to use it? Do you think it's bad to use it? And then does it exist in the
mhm,
artistic world, do you think? Or should that stick to, I guess just the humanity aspect or the uniqueness of a human instead of AI?
mhm. Well, that's a interesting question. I feel like my answer to that is a very complex answer. I think AI good and bad, so basically
Hmm.
subjective. Um,
Okay.
I s- if it's an aid to humanity, I'm for it. But knowing how
Hmm.
humans are in capitalism, we seeing AI now be an aid to capitalism, be an aid in assisting the destruction of Earth. Because I do know, like, AI uses up gallons of water, gallons and gallons of water, and things like
Right.
that, and other stuff that I don't know. But I think AI technology and AI can be a beautiful thing. It can be an aid to humanity. But once it starts trying to replace humanity, which we are starting to see now, and I'm just like, oh, what kind of jobs are humans going to have in 30 years if we're still alive in 30
Right.
years? Because, but
Yeah.
um, I think that AI itself is not bad. I think the humans that control
Misusing
it
it.
and stuff like that are
Mm.
are I don't even want to say the word bad. I'm trying not to judge humanity, but humans that I think the humans are the ones that are doing most of the damage
Okay.
because AI can be an aid and a help
Right.
to humanity, but
Mhm.
humans are gonna top systems are using AI for the benefit of money, the benefit of just, many things that I can't even think of. But
Right.
yeah.
So there is a lot of misuse, and the
Mhm.
thing is that
That's the
that's
word I'm looking for.
negatively and yeah, it's negatively impacting people,
Yeah.
especially the youth in education. The misuse has led to less brain development. It
Oh my
has led to
God, no.
yes, because people are using it to ask hard questions instead of them asking the
Mm,
hard questions and then finding the information out and doing the research and doing all of that stuff. So it's also leading to plagiarism and problem solving issues. Like I mentioned just now, when they have a problem or something, instead of trying to solve it and get through the process of problem solving, they go to AI. So it's
mm,
affecting the youth in that sense. And then there's unfortunately as it might have some good uses, it's still not fully developed to the sense of that there's some biases and algorithms towards non-English languages.
oh,
So it's actually catching quote unquote AI use, or that something is AI because it's not necessarily in English, and it's catching that in other languages, and when it's not used AI. So it has a lot of that bias in it still, but it's I don't know if you heard about the study that came out from MIT that they released about how the the use of AI has led to less brain development or something
mm.
like that.
I mean, that makes
And
sense.
yeah,
Oh
it
my
was
God.
not peer reviewed and it was a small sample size, so that's important to note. But the
Right.
reason they released it so quick was because they released it before it was peer reviewed because they felt like this was information that needed to be heard earlier rather than later, because I think the peer review process was going to take a couple of
It
months.
takes a while.
Right.
Yeah,
So
it does.
they released it and I looked at it and it was very interesting because it just validates those concerns of the fact that people who are using AI are not their brain is not developing half as good,
Mm,
and creating later issues. Now they're understanding that it might even potentially lead to more people having dementia and memory issues because of that. Um, but that's something that, I thought it was interesting through AI because now that I'm, like I said, going through the finding the job and being more artistic, I see so many AIs that do things for you. So I'm worried or concerned that if I do step into that, I'm gonna lose the knowledge
mm,
of how to do it, but I can see how it can be beneficial. So some of the responsible use is how to use the AI. I think you should use it to build on your knowledge and access material that helps you instead of trying to have it do everything for you. So working with it, not making it work for you,
right,
right?
right.
So something that I've learned that I think is very important is learning how to prompt it correctly and properly. So I think most of the time I create something, I do something, and then I just ask it to revise it and give me an updated version. And then through that, I look at it again and then revise myself again and then ask for further feedback. So it becomes like working with it instead of making it work for me. Instead of telling it, make this for me, it's like, oh, look what I made. What do you think about it?
Right.
Blah, blah, blah. Okay. No, but what do you think about this? Blah, blah, blah. So it's like by
Mm,
doing that, then the benefits of AI is insane. It's very,
mm,
very good.
yeah.
But like you said, humans tend to misuse a lot of things, and they just like the internet, it could have been a really, 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 really good thing, but it has been misused in many ways and has led to a lot of negative impact. But
Yeah.
it is just the
Mhm.
use of it, so just properly use things and
That's why I'm just
properly.
like, I'm not a fan of this whole push for humans to go to Mars. I was like, no, 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 no. Why? So we can mess that up to something beautiful. We'll just mess it up. And I'm just like, we need to understand first before we go. We need to, you know,
And by going to Mars, they're gonna stop potentially caring about Earth because, oh, we
exactly.
can just be at Mars.
And exactly. And and they already really stopped caring about Earth. I can imagine
Yeah.
what that will look like full fledged if this whole Mars thing happens. So I'm just
Yeah.
like, I just think the humanity, the system. I'm just gonna be quiet about that. Well, just because, folks, remember I told y'all after my near death experience, which was amazing. I talk about it in episode 130 if folks want to go listen to it, episode 130. It's so beautiful and it's amazing. Be prepared if you listen to that episode, folks. Be prepared to be challenged because some of the things that I say are not things that I was taught. But now they're all beautiful things. Just be prepared that yes, there's some things that sound too good to be true. Guess what? Yeah, and that's okay. It is true. I was just like, yes, the too good can be true. It can be true. But
Right.
so y'all know after my near death experience when I was 15 that I get these type of visions slash dreams and they end up happening.
Mm.
Humanity, we will get to a point where um I- I'm just gonna be quiet. Oh, I'm gonna be quiet. I don't know if I should say it on this episode, but just know that, like, humanity. I mean, things will eventually go good. It just there's, you know, let's see. What is the saying? Love is not the only path to light, or no, light is not the only path. What? So something's not the only path. Basically saying, like, guess what? Darkness serves a purpose. The path of darkness can lead to lightness. Uh,
Mm.
yeah, humanity, freaking strap in. I mean, strap in. But things get better after the. Things will get
The
better.
bad.
I'll just say that. I'll just say things will get better after. But
Good.
let's be quiet. Okay, folks, you don't have to believe me because that's the thing. You actually don't, because don't believe me. Just don't. Actually, literally don't believe me, folks, because honestly, yeah, yeah. Just live your life and love others and yourself. Love, love,
Mhm.
love. Okay, love, love. Please vote with love. Lead with love. Try your best. Love, love, love.
Yep.
That's all I'm going to say. Love, but love yourself too, folks. Treat yourself with kindness. Treat others with kindness as well. Open the door for someone. Hold open the door for someone. Just a little thing. Help an old lady across the street. Add some love out there, even if it's just a
Mhm.
little. A little is a lot. Love is love, period. Alrighty. Alex, thank you for informing on the AI. Oh my gosh, I didn't know all
Just a
that.
little bit. I'm not super
Well,
knowledgeable,
you
but
know
it's
more
just
than me.
a little bit of research. Don't do your own research. I always do say that. Don't just take my word for
That's
things.
right.
So yeah.
I agree. I say the same thing. Yes, but hey, you know more than me, therefore I'm able to learn from you. So that little bit that you
Awesome.
know, hey, I learned. Now I learned a little bit. And yeah, I'll do my own research. But yeah, with the brain development thing, I figured that just because of what my research already does, just knowing
Mhm.
how a lack of certain
Right.
things can lead to less brain development or no brain development. So that's
Right.
So that makes sense. That makes sense.
Hmm.
Okay, so folks, you know I like to end with a little challenge, but first before I do that, Alex his links will be in the episode description below. Go check him out. Go support. Go subscribe to his YouTube. Also, folks, today's challenge is to tell somebody, 1 to 2 people, including yourself, that you are enough, you are important, you are loved. That's it. 1 to 2 people, yourself included. Because, yes, everyone is extremely important. So are you. You are extremely important as well. You are all equally, extremely, so loved, so valuable. And so you are worthy of being told that you are enough, you are loved, and you are important. And if no one has told you today, allow me to be the first and allow yourself to be the second. Alex, you are loved, you are worthy, and you are important. And I truly mean that.
Thank you. So are you.
Gracias, mi amigo. Okay, alrighty, folks. Get on out of here. I'll see y'all next episode for whatever that will be.